During the earthquake, I held back Liu Ruyan, who wanted to rush in to save her lover and thus broke a leg. Later, Liu Ruyan and I got married. On that day, the boy jumped off the building because of his disfigurement, but he said nothing. He took me through rehabilitation with my injured leg for decades. On our 10th anniversary, he pushed me to the middle of the road and asked me, "How long is it?" before turning away. Do you feel this feeling of being isolated and helpless? The car ran over my body, and I realized that he had always hated me so much. When I opened my eyes and was reborn to the time when the house collapsed, I let go of her hand. Liu Ruyan, run. When the load Brian wall collapsed, Liu Ruyan in front of me resolutely shook off my hand. I wanted to rush towards him unpaused, looking at his previous life through the heavy smoke and dust. I pulled him back, desperately unused my body to block the falling wall for him. When the sharp stones fell, the extreme pain made me lose my mind instantly. At that time, I thought I was going to die. I used up my last bit of strength to lean over to his ear and told him, "Liu Ruyan, you have to be happy." Later, I woke up in the hospital and saw that I only had half of my right leg left. I couldn't tell what I felt in my heart. When I realized that I could no longer continue the fencing I loved in this life, I collapsed and cried desperately. That Liu Ruyan's mother came to see me, kneeling on the ground and begging me not to cry, saying that only if I stopped crying, they would get up. The girl who had always been gentle and sunny stood beside me helplessly, wiping away my tears with trembling hands. "A Cheng, let's get married. I will take care of you for the rest of your life." The love that settled at that moment smoothed out the bottomless ravine in my heart from. I always thought that the deep eyes that Liu Ruyan looked at me were the love awakened by me. Later, when the tires ran over my legs, I realized that it was the ultimate hatred. "I'm going to say Vabo, he's not out yet." Liu Ruyan's sharper interrupted my memories, and he waved his hands to signal me not to get close to him. I looked at his young and tender face at this time, and the past 10 years were still vivid in my mind. I remember that he accompanied me to rehabilitation training again and again, and I remember that he gently, unfirmly held my hand and led me across the ravines. But I also remember that on our 10th wedding anniversary, he pushed me to the middle of the road after taking off my prosthesis, leaned over and asked me in his ear, "Captain Lebo, do you remember what day? It was a few days ago." My Abo, he has been gone for 10 years. He obviously agreed to my confession, and everything was going to be fine. "I want you to experience this feeling of being isolated and helpless." His voice was so hateful, like a sharp knife stabbing into my heart. The speeding wheels drove over my legs, and the bright blood stained the property certificate in my pocket red. That was the surprise I gave to Liu Ruyan on the 10th anniversary. "Don't come over." Liu Ruyan turned and ran upstairs, looking back at me as she ran. He thought I would stop him at all costs, but I won't do that again this time. I was found by the rescue team and picked up, but Liu and Xiao Jibo were nowhere to be found. I don't know if he met him or saved his beloved boy. I closed my eyes, and Liu Ruyan's words from the last life were still ringing in my ears. "Life and death are determined by fate, and wealth and honor are determined by heaven. Why do you think you are qualified to interfere with my life and death? I love Abo, and I am willing to die for him. Why stop me? It's a pity that our friendship of childhood sweethearts for 10 years is not as good as the 1 month that Xiao Jibo knew him. He was originally positive and motivated, but because of a word from him, he lost an exam and missed all the awards. He said that he had never met someone who suited his heart, but he didn't think about whether it was possible for such a perfect person to be mismatched with him. The rescue vehicle took us to the hospital for examination, where I saw Ruyan's mother. She held my hand with a haggard face. "Where is Ruyan?" I shook my head. "I don't know." "Aren't you together? How could you not save her?" I was speechless for a moment. In the previous life, Liu's mother was grateful to me at first, but later she repeatedly talked about my disability, thinking that it was my blessing that Herd Otter accepted me, and she secretly introduced boyfriends to Herd Otter more than once. I had a few attacks, and he held his heart and pretended to be sick, and Liu Ruyan would protect him and let me close my eyes. He wants to go in and save people, and I can't stop him. I looked at Liu's mother and didn't want to say anything extra. Liu Yan lost his father at an early age, and Liu's mother raised him alone. He is about to graduate. If something happens to him, I don't know if Liu's mother can bear it. How could you do this? How could you not stop him? You, a grown man, watched him die. How could you be so cruel? Gradually, people gathered around. Liu's mother sat on the ground, holding her chest and crying loudly. My daughter has been dating him for so many years and has taken care of him for so long, but he ran out alone and left my daughter in there. The reporter next to him set up a camera to film me, and several passers-by also raised their phones to record it. I can even imagine how many people who don't know the truth will say that I am an ungrateful person after this video is posted online. But at this moment, a bloody stretcher was carried in from the door, and Liu's mother, who had just been slumped on the ground, jumped up. It was Liu Yan, who was covered in blood. Thus was tightly tied around his broken arm, and large patches of blood and flesh could be vaguely seen. Are you crazy? Why did you go to save people? If something happens to you, how can I live in the future? His desperate cry resounded throughout the corridor. But Liu Yan smiled pale lie. I saved a brother Abo. As long as he is safe, I am willing to do anything. The faces of several people around changed one after another. Is Abo another boy? Didn't they say that the two had been dating for a long time? How come there is another Abo? Isn't this moral kidnapping? Saving your daughter's life is life, and saving others' life and saving others' life doesn't matter. Seeing the change in public opinion, Liu's mother didn't bother to explain. She leaned back with a pale face and stopped nagging. It seems that this time she was not pretending. The medical staff ran towards the two of them in a panic, and I turned and walked into the examination room opposite, no longer paying attention to the examination results. Everything is normal. When I left the hospital, I heard the news about Liu Yan. It was said that she saved her life, but unfortunately one arm was broken and needed to be amputated. In this life, fate alternates. The injured person becomes her, and the person who saves the lover also becomes her. In the future, I hope Xiao Jibo can accompany her smoothly. I stood outside the ICU door looking at the flashing lead light, and the face of Xiao Jibo in the previous life emerged in my mind. When the wall was shaking and everyone was running out, Xiao Jibo eyed the phone and said resolutely, "Hurry up and say you love me. Otherwise, I will die here. I won't run. Zhu Yu, if you don't agree to me, I won't live." I have seen him break up and get back together with the senior sister from the directing department, and I have also heard him sneer and say to his buddies around him, "Liu Yan, I'm just playing with him. If I don't do something real, how can you know how sad it is?" So I want to stop Liu Yan. I want to help him get rid of the disaster that shouldn't have happened to him, even if he has a secret love with someone else, even if he ruthlessly throws me away for others. But I still cherish our friendship for many years, and in order to have a clear conscience, I want to pull him out of the quagmire. But since he was determined to jump, it was just he said, life and death are determined by fate, and wealth and honor are determined by God. It was a month later that I saw Yan again. His right hand, which he was most proud of painting, had been amputated, and his right arm was only a piece, and he had difficulty moving with bandages. Liu's mother seemed to have aged 10 years. Her voice was hoarse and then healed, and then hoarse again. She could no longer make any sound. I took a bouquet of flowers to welcome her out of the hospital and told her calmly that Liu Yan did not keep me, because during her convalescence, Xiao Jibo came many times and said in tears that he loved him and would be with him for the rest of his life. I think this is a good ending for both of us. After Liu Yan left, I was stunned for a long time in his half-empty ward. This is where I used to live in my previous life. At that time, I thought Liu Yan could save me, but now I understand that the only one who can save me is myself. I looked down from the corner of my eye, expecting to see Liu Yan and Xiao Jibo being affectionate, but I saw Xiao Jibo holding Zhu Yu in his arms, and the two were kissing passionately. My cell phone rang suddenly, interrupting my watch. I picked it up and saw that it was my mother calling. When I answered the phone, I lowered my head and saw that Liu Rui and had walked downstairs. Xiao Jibo was no longer next to Zuyu. He was holding a bouquet of bright roses and hugged Liu Rui and tightly in his arms with a happy smile on his face. Hello, Kissy. I answered the phone, but my eyes were fixed on the downstairs. Rui had no idea what had just happened. He wanted to hug Xiao Jibo, but with a missing arm, he tried very hard to lift it up, but ultimately failed. Zhao Chang, where have you been? My mother's voice was particularly urgent on the phone. In my last life, after I broke my leg, she was in great pain, but she never blamed Liu Rui. It was only after we got married that he told me privately a few times that Liu Rui was a person with deep thoughts and he didn't know if he was a good choice. But Liu Rui was always so submissive in front of him and was particularly gentle to me. I even had a few arguments with him about this and told him not to think too much. After my rebirth, I realized that it was an intuition born out of love. I think if I had listened to him earlier, it might have been a different ending. Don't worry, Mom. I've said goodbye to you Rui. I slowed down my tone, but the moment I lowered my head, my whole body felt like an electric shock. Zuyu, who was not far away, was standing in the flowers, looking up, and when he looked at me, a faint smile rose at the corner of his mouth. He stretched out his index finger, put it close to his lips, and made a hush it. There was danger in his eyes, as if he was warning me not to talk nonsense. In fact, it is not surprising that a person like Xiao Jibo has a lot of peach blossoms. Even in the acting department where handsome guys gather, he is particularly outstanding on eye-catching. Those narrow and deep eyes seem to be filled with stars. When looking at others, there is a kind of magic that captures people's hearts. It is said that several well-known directors have already handed scripts to Xiao Jibo, but Xiao Jibo refused them one by one. He said that he wanted to leave his debut to Zuyu. Unfortunately, in the previous life, the heavens did not fulfill people's wishes. His proud face was scratched in the earthquake and his appearance was completely destroyed. At that time, Liu Rui had secretly visited Xiao Jibo without telling me, who was recovering from the operation, but she was rejected without exception. He always thought that Xiao Jibo was afraid to see him because of his disfigurement, and that he was desperate because I forced him to marry me, but he didn't know that on the day Xiao Jibo jumped off the building, Zuyu posted a dynamic. In the photo, he held a boy's hand, interlocking his fingers, sweetly envied by others. After I lost a leg, 10 years of hard work still couldn't make up for Xiao Jibo's regret for his damaged appearance. He attributed all his sufferings to me, but he didn't know that the other party never took him seriously from beginning to end. I was almost desperate back then. Now, I think about it, how is my so-called infatuation different from Liu Rui's reckless, wishful thinking? When I returned to school, most of the school had been rebuilt. We were facing graduation and everyone was submitting resumes. In her previous life, Liu Rui was outstanding in all aspects. She stood in the crowd with a beautiful face and quickly attracted the attention of those HRS. But now, she can only sit in front of those small companies that no one cares about and write her name crookedly with her clumsy left hand. Although most companies didn't say anything to her face, the look in their eyes when they looked at Liu Rui was more sympathetic than appreciative. He has now paid for my desperate mood when I was treated coldly. Student Chang, I have one last question. You chose the position of wheelchair fencing coach. Can you tell me what is the special significance of it? The gentle and kind girl in front of me spoke softly. My hand hanging under the table touched my right knee and slowly turned my ankle. The surprise of regaining my lost ankle still lingered in my heart and did not dissipate for a long time. In my previous life, I repeatedly hit a wall and hated fencing, which I once loved. Every time I saw my favorite competition program, I would smash the TV like crazy. It was not until a long time later that I calmed down and tried to learn about wheelchair fencing. The coach I met at that time handed the sword to me and said, if I lose my legs, I can still fly as long as I grow wings. Unfortunately, my physical functions had degenerated at that time, and it was difficult to pick up my dream again. Since I have the opportunity to start over again, and since I understand the pain imposed on me, I want more people to enjoy the joy of life with me. Faster, higher, farther is a kind of will for me. I think physical limitations should never be a shackle for a person to pursue his dreams. This is what my coach in my previous life said to me, and it is also my belated comfort to myself. When the show was over, I saw Yu Are You, Why, and An Xiao Jibo. He stood beside him, particularly eye-catching, and said in a soft voice, Liu Are You, Why, and don't be afraid, it doesn't matter if you don't have a job. I will take care of you for the rest of your life. Hearing this familiar conversation, I smiled gently. I'll ask my acquaintance to introduce you to a job, one that is not too tiring and has a high salary. I don't need your introduction. I don't believe there is no company that wants me, Abo. Give me some time, believe me. Xiao Jibo clearly didn't like you, are you, Yan? He was considerate and thoughtful to her, probably because he didn't want to be criticized and scolded by the world. But how could someone as excellent as Liu or you are tolerate accepting charity from others? To this day, he still insists that he has a chance to succeed, but he skipped an exam to accompany Zhao Jibo to participate in the competition, so there is a glaring stain in his grades. Moreover, physical recovery is a long process. URUY and has lost the super high starting point when she entered the industry in her previous life. If she wants to reach the height of her previous life again, I'm afraid she will have to work thousands of times harder. I walked past the two of them without looking sideways, but when I passed by them, I clearly heard the An's deliberately amplified voice. Babo, I will definitely love you well. I glanced at him and saw him turn around and put his arms around her waist, his eyes vaguely glancing in my direction. I pretended not to hear and did not look back. In my mind, the 18-year-old girl stood downstairs at my house in the rain, holding a can of stars, and said to me hesitantly, Chang, you and I were admitted to the same university. Can we be together? I will definitely love you well. Closing my eyes, the willow trees with floating catkins and the girl's fragrant black hair seemed to still be in front of me. You spent so much effort to get together, but in the end you lost your time. A cheerful voice interrupted my thoughts. Su Ling, you came over from a distance and patted me on the shoulder. Graduation drama, you come to be actor for me. Zhu Ling, you and I met in the club. She is from a wealthy family and is waiting to go abroad for further studies after graduation. She lost her worries at a young age, and now her biggest worry is the school's graduation ask to shoot a short film as a result. I patted his head and nodded, okay. Perhaps because he was afraid that I would be sad about the breakup, he stood to the right intentionally or unintentionally to block Liu, Rui, and An Xiao Jibo. Liu Ruyan's mother came to the school to find Xiao Jibo 2 days ago. She was so fierce, saying that he would have to live in the Liu family in the future, and the current house would have to be written in Liu Ruyan's name and spoil him all his life. Anyone would collapse if their daughter had such a mother-in-law, he said while secretly observing my face as if he was afraid that I would be sad. Whoa, you are you Wyatt and I have broken up, and I don't want to hear any news from him anymore. I am at a critical juncture in my life. There are many things more important than so-called love. I don't want to let someone who will never have any contact with me enter my life. That would be a punishment for myself. When rehearsing the play, I noticed that we were in the venue next to Zuyu, and the male lead of the script that Zuyu was filming was Xiao Jibo. The two of them were together every day, and their relationship was ambiguous. Almost half of the people in the school had heard about it, but due to Zuyu's family background, no one was willing to say much. The company that Liu Ruyan applied for had some positive responses, but for some reason, all of a sudden, there was no response. He had no choice but to accept Xiao Jibo's arrangement and got into a company through connections. It was said that the salary was quite considerable, but this also meant that he would have to be inferior to others in the future and become the most hated relative household. According to the process of my previous life, he should be undergoing rehabilitation treatment now. That was the most difficult time after a limb was broken. He accepted his own disability over and over again and faced his most unbearable pain over and over again. Yuan's emotions began to become unstable. He needed Xiao Jibo's company to fill the void in his heart, but Xiao Jibo's mind was not on him at all. In order to ensure that he appeared in the best condition in front of the camera, he needed to go to bed and get up early and exercise regularly. Perhaps because he was immersed in the nourishment of love, he became more handsome. During the rehearsal, he was often unheard holding his mobile phone and impatiently saying, "I said I'm busy. Our crew has a meeting tonight and then don't have time to accompany you." Sometimes Liu Yuwai and occasionally came to see him, and he would find a reason to leave and then tell the people around him, "Don't tell him I'm here." On Valentine's Day, Liu Yuwai came to Xiao Jibo with flowers, but Xiao Jibo was busy rehearsing and didn't even say hello to him. In front of everyone, Liu Yuwai couldn't help but get angry. He threw the flowers on the ground and asked coldly, "Xiao Jibo, I called you so many times and you didn't answer. What do you want to do?" In the gap when everyone was stunned, Xiao Jibo didn't give him a good face and immediately retorted, "Liu Yuwai and I'm busy. We normal people have a lot of things to do every day, not like you who are so idle." He emphasized the three words normal people, which obviously stimulated Liu Yuwai severely. He stood there in a daze, almost speechless with anger. "Xiao Jibo, do you have a heart? For whom did I become like this? Do you have any shame? I didn't ask you to save me. It was your own wishful thinking. Maybe I would be fine even if you didn't come. Why? Do you still want me to work like a cow and a horse for you? Don't forget who arranged your job for you. I don't owe you anything." Liu Yuan was angry and anxious at his retort. He was anxious and excited and wanted to point his finger at him, but he could only swing his empty sleeves and almost tripped over the chair in front of him. From a distance, I looked at Liu Yuan, at the girl who was once called a genius by the teacher, and saw her standing in the crowd in desolation, suffering silent humiliation and deception, and I couldn't bear to lower my eyes. A person will only understand cherishment after losing something, otherwise he will not understand it anyway. Just like Xiao Jibo, who was protected, will never know what he would become without Liu Yuan. Just like Liu Yuan, he will never know what he would face now if I hadn't held him. So he didn't thank me back then, just like Xiao Jibo doesn't thank him now. The rehearsal plan was disrupted that day, so after everyone left, I stayed to continue practicing the moves. In the short film, I became a martial arts actor who walked out of the mountains and had to show fencing moves at the end of the film. But after being reborn, the moves were unfamiliar, and I was still practicing over and over again. Later, the lights on the stage went out. I raised my sword and stabbed forward in the dim light, and suddenly I found a vague black shadow sitting under the stage. Who? I was startled and the sword almost fell out of my hand. "You are amazing." It was Zhou. He raised his eyebrows. His dark pupils were like ghosts. "Liu Yuan is not worthy of you. I thought he was here to warn me not to talk nonsense, so I took the initiative to bring up that matter. I won't tell anyone about you and Xiao Jibo." He laughed, his eyebrows and eyes relaxed, and he approached me with a little hazy drunkenness. "Xiao Jibo is not suitable. I want a male lead like you. He is too spoiled. You're as tough as weed." I smelled the sweet smell of alcohol on him, frowned, and took 2 steps back. Suyu is a big artist in the circle, and his family is very unusual, so he has close relationships with many boys. Perhaps because of his resources, few people are willing to refuse him, but I glanced at him coldly and took 2 steps back. Who I am with is my own business, and it has nothing to do with you. I took off my performance clothes and wanted to leave, but Zuyu caught up with me. He pulled my sleeve. "Captain G, has anyone told you that you are very different? If we are together, do you think Liu Yuan will be very sad? Do you want to see him come back and pursue you?" I admit that I was really moved at that moment, but I quickly suppressed this idea. I don't need to use a woman's pursuit to prove my charm, nor do I need other people's regrets to prove that I am good enough. My perfection does not need anyone to set off, and I don't want to have any connection with you Yuan anymore. If you come to bother me again, I will make everything I know public, which will not be good for you at that time. I took off my costume coldly, turned around, and walked out of the theater. After that day, Liu Yuan began a cold war with Xiao Jibo. He no longer came to the theater to find her and no longer appeared with her in school. She thought this was a punishment for Xiao Jibo, but she didn't expect that this was exactly what the other party expected. On my birthday, Zuling Yu called on the entire crew to celebrate my birthday. When we were in the hotel that day, I received a text message without a name. A Chang, happy birthday. This name made me subconsciously think of Yuan. He called me this in the first love letter he wrote to me when he was 17 years old, but I pressed the delete key almost without hesitation. When I came out of the hotel, I was surrounded by the crowd and walked back to school. I was a little drunk. The girl next to me walked to my side several times and wanted to support me, but she hesitated and put her hand down. I saw it in my eyes, but didn't say anything. When I walked under the street light, I saw a tall and thin figure standing there lonely. The girl next to me noticed it first and walked away silently. Chang, Liu Yuan's voice was extremely restrained, but I could still hear the ups and downs of his mood. Happy birthday. After a very brief conversation, I nodded, thank you. He held a handful of ugly paper stars in his left hand, and the stars were not folded well. He took a step forward, and I took a step back. The whistling wind blew over, and the paper stars were scattered all over the ground, and we didn't bend down to pick them up. I'm going to Beijing to get a prosthetic limb. There was a hint of grievance in his voice. In the 4 years we were together, I was present at all his major events, and I was by his side during all the difficult times. But now, it's such a difficult moment, I will no longer be there with him. I wish you the best. I said this coldly without a smile on my face. Chang, why are you so cruel to me, Kens? Several dark-skinned people looked at me from a distance with questioning looks in their eyes. I raised my eyes and looked at him steadily. Liu Yuan, don't call me that. You don't deserve it. You think your old love has rekindled, but in fact, it's just that you are abandoned and neglected, and you want to get some warmth from me. But you should know that people like me can't tolerate the slightest betrayal. When you insist on getting rid of me, you should understand that we can't be friends. Yuan, don't try to kidnap me with your so-called affectionate personality. Life and death are determined by fate. Wealth and honor are in the hands of God. That is your choice. You just bear it yourself. I smiled at him, then turned and walked among my friends, and walked away together. The days before graduation always pass quickly. In the rehearsal day by day, a month has passed unknowingly. So you began to give me some expensive gifts every now and then, sometimes a luxury brand belt in the backpack, sometimes a limited edition game console that is difficult to buy. I know, this is not love at first sight, it's just a game after school when I have nothing to do. I didn't care because I had already received an offer from the provincial team coach and started to get involved in coaching. According to the plan, I will train with the newly formed fencing team, and 3 months later, I will take them to an important competition. On Xiao Jibo's birthday, Liu Yuan suddenly came back. She and her mother had a new prosthesis on her arm. She chose this day to come unexpectedly, probably to take the initiative to break the ice and give Xiao Jibo a surprise. These words were said to me by Liu's mother. After experiencing such a big twists and turns, she became much more haggard and was particularly gentle to me. Chang, Yuan is like a child who never grows up, always worrying about others. You have known each other for so many years. You know him. He sometimes does some extreme things under impulse, but he is very nostalgic in his heart. In the last life after we got married, he also said such words to other men several times, and the meaning is self-evident. Listening to it now, it undoubtedly makes me feel sick. No one is a child who never grows up. He is an adult and should be responsible for what he has done. As for whether he is nostalgic or not, it has nothing to do with me. He has a boyfriend now. You should go and talk to him. I finished speaking and was about to leave, but Liu's mother held me back. Antai is interested in you and is willing to match you up. Otherwise, you also know that he has a good relationship with the boy now and has found a job. To put it bluntly, if our Yuan hadn't broken an arm, it wouldn't be our turn. When she talked about her precious daughter, she still had a proud tone. It seems that Liu Yuan didn't tell Yu's mother about all these things, such as Liu Yuan's use of connections to find a job and her quarrel with Xiao Jibo. Liu's mother didn't like me, but she felt that Xiao Jibo was not content, so she wanted me to take over this mess. I have experienced how difficult she was in the last life. I am a little curious about what kind of sparks will be created when this princess who can't stand a little grievance meets a young master like Xiao Jibo. Then I wish them success in a long and happy marriage. You don't have to spend so much effort to bring us together. I am unlucky and unworthy of your precious daughter. Lia's mother snorted coldly, grabbed her backpack, and was about to leave angrily. But the moment her hand reached in front of me, I noticed that his 10 fingers were round like drumsticks, and they were obviously clubbed. It seemed that his heart problem was already very serious. I immediately stopped talking, fearing that any more extreme words would irritate him. Mom, come quickly, let's go find Abo. The moment he opened the door, Liu Yuan's voice came from the corridor, followed by a group of people's lively laughter. I closed the door, squatted down, and silently sorted out the props. Su Lingyu said that Liu Yuan had booked a big restaurant. So many people from the two crews ran over to join in the fun. Naturally, I would not participate, so I packed up my things and left. Now I have to go to the provincial team to guide training every day, so naturally, I don't have time to listen to these news. But when I walked to the school gate, I saw an ambulance rushing in, and a group of students ran to the performance building in groups of 3 or 5. Go, go! I heard that a senior in the performance department cheated and was caught by his girlfriend. I heard what happened later from Zhu Lingyu. He said that a group of people surrounded Liu, Ruy, and Liu's mother that day and pushed open the door of the packing room expectantly, but they saw Zhao Jibo and Zhu Yu hugging each other in dishevel. He quoted from classics and told me that the two were making love and didn't know what the world was. Seeing this scene, Liu Yuy and was stunned and couldn't say a word. Liu's mother was so angry that her face turned pale. She rushed up and pulled Ziyu's hair to hit him, but Xiao Zhibo kicked him in the heart and knocked him to the ground. Ruy and also went up to help and wrestled with Zuyu. All this was recorded by the people in the crowd who held cameras and wanted to record it as a surprise. I waved my hands, indicating that I didn't want to listen anymore, but Zhu Lingyu continued, "It's not over yet. During the shoving, I don't know who pushed you down, and he fell to the ground and there was a pool of blood. I heard that Suyu was already 3 months pregnant, and now the child is gone. I don't know how to deal with it in the end. Counting the days, Liu Ruy and An Xiaojibo have not been together for 3 months. I don't know what kind of mood Liu Ruy would feel when she knew this news. Liu Yuan's mother is also in the hospital. It is said that she had a heart attack and almost didn't survive. She is still in the ICU. Ah Cheng, you are so lucky. You should have broken up with Liu Yuan at that time. Don't get involved in their mess. You are lucky. Liu Yuan can always be so smooth with you. It's a pity that he doesn't know how to cherish her. She deserves what she has now. Zhu Lingyu still spoke with a beaming face. What she said was a bit extreme, but I knew she was completely speaking up for me. Okay, Zhuo, don't mention Liu Yuan anymore. She is now just an ordinary person whom I have known for a while. Let me show you the little girl in our team the day before yesterday. Look how beautiful her movements are. I took out my mobile phone, and on the screen was a girl who lost both legs due to polio. She raised her sword high and stabbed her opponent in the throat beautifully. Before coming to training, she almost succumbed to Herb Aronson, who married a deaf-mute husband whom she had never met, but this skill allowed her to boldly say no to her family who bullied her. Ah, Zhu Lingyu's eyes were moist, and she gave me a tight hug. When I become a director in the future, I will definitely make your story into a movie. The graduation examination came as scheduled. Amid the applause, I put on my fencing clothes and demonstrated my swordsmanship on the stage. In the fluttering sleeves, I seemed to see the speeding cars and a person sitting in a wheelchair at a lot. He clenched his fists helplessly, and his voice was desperate. Save me, who can save me? Across the time and space where we will never meet again, I answered his question. I will save you, I can sit. So the traffic stopped. I grew legs, stood up again in the billowing smoke and dust, and pulled myself to the safe zone. Reincarnation, I must love myself well. There was thunderous applause from the audience, and I saw Yuan. She was sitting in the crowd, crying out of shape. The first person to stand up and present flowers turned out to be Zuyi. I saw her holding a bouquet of roses that almost completely blocked her whole body and walked up to me. GBOC Hang, you're great today. The center of the bouquet was clearly written with GBOC Hang, I like you. But I didn't take it. In the end, Zuling Yu, as the organizer, took the bouquet for me and then politely responded to him, "Thank you for your support." When I was packing my luggage backstage, a figure stood at the door and looked straight at me. I turned around and it was Yu, Ryan. He came over and opened his arms to me with difficulty. "Hey Chang, we are about to graduate. Can I help you?" We both knew that after this period of time, we would never have the chance to meet again in our lives. I saw the mechanical arm exposed from his sleeves, and I finally softened my heart. "Hey Cheng, you have to be happy." His voice choked. In this new life, the sentence turned out to be what he said to me. It turns out that fate plays tricks on people, and the twists and turns of fate are also interesting. If you could help me when I rushed in, how great it would be. I will definitely realize my mistake. Yu Cheng, I'm sorry I was wrong. An's lips trembled slightly, lowered her head, and tears fell to the ground dejectedly. Ann, those who dare not admit it are cowards. If you don't regret it, I can still look up to you a little. You don't need to get my forgiveness because I am not important to you, and you are the same to me. It is a blessing for each other that we will never meet again in this life. I packed my bags and left the performance room. This time, all my dark past should be over. After leaving school, I rarely paid attention to the news of those people. Liang Yu's mother had a heavy bleeding during the operation and almost couldn't get off the operating tables, so Yu went to Liu's house and made a scene. Liu Ryan couldn't afford the surgery fee after losing her job and asked friends for loans everywhere. Ling Yu told me about it later. Only Zhu, you sent me messages again and again. He almost kept sending greetings and told me that he had broken up with Xiao Jibo. I never responded to the question of whether I wanted to be the leading actor in his movie. I think people who try to force others to submit by relying on so-called money and power are disgusting. I was busy guiding the members of the team to participate in the competition, and I was exhausted all day. As the competition was about to start in 10 days, I lead the team to the competition venue. Disabled sports often require more time to adapt to the venue, and I was particularly worried during the journey, fearing that a little accident would cause mistakes in the competition. However, on the night I arrived at the hotel, I received a sudden call from Zhu Lingyu. "Hey Chang, have you seen the hot searches?" he said in a hurried tone. After hanging up the phone, a video was sent to me. The video showed Liu's mother yelling at me in the hospital on the day of the earthquake. The video was cut off, and only the part where Liu's mother condemned me for not saving the dying was edited out, and my indifferent expression was magnified and made into an emoticon package with the text, "His life or death is none of my business." My identity was then exposed, along with the entire participating team. I leaked. Netizens who didn't know the truth commented fiercely, "How can we expect someone who can't even save the people around him to be kind to the disabled? Is he doing this on purpose? He's the coach of the Paralympics anyway. Wouldn't he be happy to see more disabled people?" I suggest disqualifying the team. How can a team led by such an unscrupulous coach be qualified to participate in the competition? The netizens' attacks escalated from me to the entire team, and then to the members of my team. Did you offend anyone? How did this video appear so coincidentally? It's obviously aimed at you. Su Lingyu's words made me regain my sanity. I immediately opened a blog and found the original video. Under the initiator's repost, I found a familiar avatar. The reason why I was impressed was because Yu used this avatar in his previous life and sent out the dynamic that made Xiao Jibo collapse. It was Zhu Yu. The moment I said this, I shuddered. Zhu Yu's family is so prominent, and he came up with such a disgusting trick to control public opinion. His purpose is obviously self-evident. While I was upset, an unfamiliar number called my phone. "GBOC Heng, have you seen the hot search?" Despite using a voice changer, I still recognize Yu's voice. "What do you want? Give up your coaching status and join the team to find me. Otherwise, not only will your reputation be affected, I have a way to prevent your entire team from participating in the competition. There was a long silence. I sat alone in the dark room in a trance. Yu has always been crazy. If I don't agree, it's hard to imagine how the situation will ferment. Now is a critical period for everyone. I don't want to delay the competition that everyone has carefully prepared for so long because of my personal grudges. But I also care about my own feelings. This is a project I have been looking forward to for a long time, and it is also a position that I think I am capable of. I don't want to give up easily. Hey Cheng, have you thought about the source of the video? Zhu Ling Yu's words reminded me. I tried to recall that day. My memory was confused at the time, but there seemed to be no one familiar with me except Liu Ruy and Liu's mother. It has been so long since this happened. Unless someone familiar with me deliberately leaked it, no one would think of using it as a threat. Who is this person? After thinking for a moment, I dialed Liu Ruy's mobile number. Cheng? The other party spoke first. His voice was urgent. I didn't send the video. His anxious cover-up made me feel moved. It's your mother, right? After asking this question, my heart trembled. The other party didn't answer for a long time, and I already had the answer in my heart. Cheng, I'm sorry. He is already like this. I can't blame him for anything. I am willing to bear all the consequences. I will explain it now. I will explain the whole thing clearly, okay? I sneered. What identity should he explain, and how can he prove his identity? Waiting for him to explain the truth, I am afraid it will cause irreversible consequences. Where is the complete video? Can you find the complete video? At present, only by making Liu Ruy's explanation in the complete video public can the dispute among netizens be ended as quickly and effectively as possible. The video was bought by Zhu, and he helped us pay all the surgery fees. So, now maybe only he has the right to make the video public. I used to like Liu Ruy's voice so much, but now it sounds so cold. The phone slipped from my palm and fell to the ground. The provincial team urgently contacted my superior, the head coach. I picked up the phone, expecting to be scolded, but the other party spoke very gently. Cheng, don't worry, we will find a way. I couldn't help but think of the interview that day. I said to him, physical limitations should not be a shackle to the pursuit of dreams. My team members have gone through so many hardships, and many of them regard this competition as the only chance in their lives. If they can't win a prize and enter the national competition, they will have to face the fate of going home and getting married. All this is not only my dream, but also theirs. Do I really want you to ruin it all? Sister Xiao Yu, put the responsibility on me. I will give up my identity as a coach and let the children participate normally. We will find a way after the competition. But I know in my heart that if I choose to compromise, it will be a stain on my career. How easy will it be to make up for it in the future? But the predicament I face is so severe, not to mention my team members. They have used up all their courage to get here. I can't let myself become an obstacle to them. I quickly packed my things and called Zuling Zhihui. Where are you? I want to find you. But before I could finish my words, Zuling Yu screamed, Cheng, it's a reversal. Look at the hot search. The news that the full video was released quickly rushed to the top of the same city list. In the video, Liu Ruy's tearful explanation and the accusations of passers-by against him were all made public, and the direction of public opinion suddenly changed, and then became concerned about the relationship between Liu Ruy and this mysterious man, Brother Abo. In less than half an hour, the hot search was completely removed, and the whole process was neat and tidy. In response, a piece of entertainment news that was not painful was soon pushed to the headlines. If you say that there is no one behind this, I obviously don't believe it. I thought that once Xiao Jibo's true identity was exposed, it would not be difficult to find Zuyu. Therefore, Zuyu probably didn't want things to continue to ferment. But who is this person who hit the target and escaped Zuyu's plan to release the full video? I still don't know. After this incident, Zuyu never contacted me again. The competition was being prepared intensively, and all that happened seemed to be just a small episode in the process. Later, the development was particularly smooth. The team I lead overcame all obstacles in a provincial competition and performed exceptionally well. The top three teams in the entire competition were all my team. The group of girls smiled in front of the flashing lights. Accompanied by the song Starry Sea, they pushed the wheelchairs and hugged each other tightly. And it was precisely because of the small setback before the game that more people paid attention to this game. The girl who walked out of the mountains won the championship, and soon some advertising companies contacted her and promised to contract all her future training expenses. Amid the cheers and applause of the crowd, I received a call. The moment I pressed the dial button, an unexpected voice rang in my ears. GBOC Hang, you are really great. This voice was distant and familiar, and instantly pulled my memory back to the last life. In the dark ward, the TV on the wall played a real-time news. At that time, I suffered from severe insomnia and could not sleep all night. I was almost collapsed and desperate, until one evening I heard a female reporter's firm and gentle voice in an interview telling a short message. I half leaned on the bed and actually felt a little sleepy. Later during those difficult days, I got used to letting this voice accompany me to sleep. Until that day, her face appeared in the real-time news. They said that a reporter who was responsible for post-disaster interviews fell from the 17th floor of the hospital and died. The cause of death was summarized as seeing too many injured people in the earthquake, being stimulated and desperate to commit suicide. The program played back the interview video clips before her death. Every time she comforted me after the interview, her tone was so firm and uplifting. I don't know what happened to her that she suddenly fell to her death overnight. I just feel that the whole thing reveals something unreasonable. Now when I hear this voice again, my eyes are wet for a moment. We agreed to meet in a cafe. Did you release the complete video? The person in front of me is called Ming Jing, and her round face gradually overlaps with the corner behind the camera when she was pulled by Liu's mother that day. I am very glad that such a tragedy did not happen to her in this life. It's me. Her voice is still so beautiful and soft, like a gurgling stream flowing through my heart. Why help me, since Su Yu was able to release such evidence to threaten me? He must have ensured that all the key evidence is in his hands, and there are only two ways to do this: money and power. As a reporter, I am afraid that I will be eager to use the evidence in my hands to exchange forces, use connections and resources in the media industry. Even if not, there is no need to risk offending him to help me. My daughter is paralyzed. She lowered her head slightly, with redness in the corners of her eyes, and began to tell the story. On the day of the earthquake, we had agreed to go to the park together, but I had to go out temporarily and left her and my husband at home. Later, her legs were broken by the fallen stone pillars. Then your husband. He checked into the hotel downstairs with someone else. I only found out about this later. The hospital where she fell in her previous life emerged in my mind, and I guess that was most likely where his daughter was receiving treatment. My daughter loves dancing. The teacher said she is very talented and wants to recommend her to the best dance school. Her voice choked up. He is so young, how can he accept all this? He is very resistant to treatment and his condition has not been good. Until she looked up at me. During the post-disaster reconstruction, I participated in your school's autumn recruitment and heard what you said. I told my daughter what you said and showed her a video of wheelchair fencing. She cried for a long time that night. The next morning she told me, "Mom, I can dance in a wheelchair." She also gave me the suicide note she had written. I looked up at her in surprise, and my mouth couldn't help but open into an O shape. If it weren't for you, she might have died. If she wasn't in this world, I don't know what courage I would have to live. The black and white photos of the last life seemed to be still in front of me, and my heart trembled. It turns out that I have changed so many things invisibly, and this is an ending I never imagined. Stu contacted me and offered a cash price to buy the video, but I told him that the camera was broken that day and I didn't record it. Her daughter was seriously ill and was in a divorce lawsuit with her ex-husband. These difficulties made her need a lot of money. She didn't mention this hardship, but I knew it. If you accept 10,000 gold coins without distinguishing between etiquette and morality, what can 10,000 gold coins do to me? She looked up at me and said with such force, I even blamed myself, thinking that I was not good enough and couldn't keep my husband, so my daughter suffered this misfortune. But your words made me understand that people can be their own masters, and what I should do is to make him pay the price. She left his sentence and left. When the entertainment news exploded, I was attending the celebration banquet of the fencing team. This time, the person who reached the top became Zhu Yu, and the explosive news that was filmed on Xiao Jibo's birthday was exposed. In the video, the two disheveled people separated in a panic, and then Yuan, who was holding flowers and looking stunned, appeared. The relationship between the three people was repeatedly discussed and escalated, and finally triggered public opinion. I don't know how Ning Jing got this video from Zhu Yu's good friend, but I know that betrayers will eventually be betrayed, and those who gather for profit will eventually disperse when the profit is gone. This is the cycle of heaven. Xiao Jibo's acting career had just begun and Waterloo occurred. Netizens compared him with the boy in the video and had to identify him for a long time before they confirmed that it was him. It was not until I saw his recent photos that I realized that the handsome guy was no longer as handsome as before. Seeing that there was no room for maneuver, his agent also came out to say publicly that Xiao Jibo had been overeating like a mental disorder after a breakup, and his weight had skyrocketed, and his natural good foundation was gone. At the age of early 20, his body had become fat, and without that face, he was completely reduced to a discarded child who attracted fire and became notorious. Even the sentence he said privately to his friends at the time, Liu Yuan, I was just playing with him. If I didn't do something real, how could Zhu Yu know how sad it was also exposed. I don't know if Yuan will pay attention to entertainment news, nor do I know what his mood will be when he hears this voice. At the end of the whole thing, the investor behind Zhu Yu was exposed for tax evasion. It is said that the sanctimonious big man cheated constantly, and was eventually proved by his former wife. Now he is waiting for legal sanctions. We will continue to pay attention to the further development of the situation. Our reporter Ning Jing reports to you. At the end of the news, a familiar voice rang in my ears. The woman's eyebrows were slightly curved, and her tone was so light and graceful, but there was a sense of relief. It took many years for me to see Zhu Lingyu again. He came back from studying abroad. In order to avoid being urged to get married by his family, he accidentally became a big director while trying to make movies to prove himself. He found me and said that the movie based on me was already in preparation. There were many talents in their director department, but Zhu Yu, who was the most famous at the time, ended up miserably. Now people in the circle don't even know his movements, proving that he has been completely forgotten by the world. Su Ling, you asked me if there was anything I wanted to keep in the lines. I wrote down a sentence for him. Many years ago, there was a person who gave up on himself. He told me that life and death are determined by fate, and wealth and honor are determined by God. But what I want to tell you is that as long as you don't give up, it can also my fate is determined by me, not by God. I told Zhu Lingyu that I wanted to use the first batch of students I taught as prototypes for the filming. The dark and thin girl back then has become a champion of the Paralympic Games. Every year when she participates in the competition, she will send me a photo. The girl in the photo got rid of her awkwardness and smiled gorgeously. It was a kind of fresh beauty, a kind of beauty with vigorous vitality. Zhu Ling, you invited most of the students I taught to participate in this performance. Those children said that I was a savior who saved many people who gave up on themselves. They unexpectedly empathized with me. I gave many people the courage to move forward. But no one knew that my original wish was just to save myself. But when I woke up in the middle of the night, I heard the words of the man in the wheelchair again. He said, when a person saves himself and tries to love himself, he will exude a courage that even he himself can't imagine. This kind of power is what the world needs, and it is the greatest value of a person becoming a protagonist. And I am very glad that this time I became the protagonist in my own world. The full text is finished.